Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm kicking off our spooky October by showing you every single horror book that is currently on my TBR. I have a lot of really fun vlogs planned for this month, a lot of challenges, a lot of horror book reading, but all of the vlogs that I have planned forced me to get books outside of my physical TBR, so I wanted to do at least one vlog where I'm reading the books already on my physical TBR, but I have no idea what to read. So this video is going to be a deep dive into all of the horror books that I have on my physical TBR, and what I need from you is in the comments of this video, I want you to comment the titles of the books you want me to read the most, and then over Halloween weekend, I'm going to read the books that were mentioned the most times in the comments of this video. So right here is my horror shelf, and everything on this side of Slewfoot is my TBR. So we're just gonna go through. I'm not gonna give like full synopses for all of these books because I haven't read them and there's quite a few to get through, but make sure you watch the whole thing and comment the books that you want me to read the most. If people have already commented it, that's fine. Comment again because I'm just gonna go through and count up the number of times a book is mentioned. Let's just start, and we're just gonna go through and start pulling them off. First we have No Gods for Drowning by Haley Piper. This is a dark gothic fantasy horror book, part noir, part detective story about gods and a serial killer trying to resurrect a god. In the House, in the Dark, in the Woods. Oh wait, no. Oh my god, I can never get this title right. In the House, in the Dark of the Woods. This is a historical horror book set in colonial New England, following a woman who has fled into the woods from her abusive husband. The Boatman's Daughter by Andy Davidson. This is a southern gothic horror about a woman who is ferrying contraband for a mad preacher and his declining band of followers to make ends meet and protect an old witch and a secret child from harm. Next up, Hammers on Bone by Cassandra Clare. This is kind of a Lovecraftian detective horror following a detective who was hired by a 10-year-old boy to kill his stepfather, who's a monster. All right, another difficult title. Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day by Seanan McGuire. This is set in New York following a woman who has just died and she is now a ghost, but something is coming after the ghosts of New York. Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. This one takes place in a suburban neighborhood where some of the homeowners accidentally unleash a demonic presence. The Winter People. This one is a historical horror in early 1900s Vermont about a woman who was tragically and mysteriously found dead after the death of her daughter. Now quickly I will run through my Christina Henry books. The Ghost Tree. This one is set in a small town where residents are going missing and the only clue to their fate is one teenager's terrifying vision. Horseman, which is a Sleepy Hollow retelling. Lost Boy, which is a Peter Pan retelling. It says a tale about Peter Pan and the friend who became his nemesis. A nemesis who may not be the black-hearted villain Pan says he is. This one is Red Queen, but it should be Alice. This is the sequel. I don't know where Alice is actually, but these are Alice in Wonderland retellings where Alice is in an asylum. Next up we have Follow Me to the Ground by Sue Rainsford. This follows a woman who is a healer to beings both more and less than human. She meets a man and is drawn into his world. She knows that something has gone wrong inside him, something she's not certain even she can cure. When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. This is a horror book about a woman who is attending a wedding of her friend that is on a plantation and uncovering the past horrors that happen there. Next up we have This Delicious Death by Kayla Cottingham. This is a YA horror book following two friends who happen to be zombies and they are attending a music festival where they discover a plot of people who are trying to murder zombies like them. Next up we have Parasite by Darcy Coates. This is a sci-fi horror about an unusual life form that is discovered on a remote moon outpost and a crew disregards protocol to go investigate it, and it has catastrophic, oh my god, why is that word so hard? It has catastrophic consequences. Catastrophic Consequences. Oh my god, that's a tongue twister. It Rides a Pale Horse by Andy Marino. Another small town horror. A lot of these are small town horror. Apparently I have a thing for small town horror. This is about a man who meets with a client and they show him a video of his sister being abducted and tell him that her fate is now in his hands. He is given a book and told to do what the book says and his sister will go free. Next up, I have Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. This is a horror book that's actually set on Halloween in the 1960s about a pumpkin scarecrow monster that comes to life every Halloween, rises from the cornfields, a bloody butcher knife in his hand, and he makes his way toward the town. Next up, I have What We Harvest by Anne Freistadt. This one is another small town called Hollow's End that is picture perfect until the blight comes and infects everyone. And the main characters learn that their ancestors have an awful lot to pay for and they need to settle old debts. The next one is Summer Sons by Lee Mandello. This is I think it's dark academia, about two best friends, completely inseparable until one of them commits suicide. So he goes to investigate and find out what happened to his friend. He uncovers the lies and secrets left behind by the person he trusted most. Whirling between the backstabbing academic world and hard drugs, the walls he built against the world begin to crumble. Next up, we have Leech. This one, oh, this is not a small town. This is set in an isolated chateau about this bizarre institution of doctors who are here to help humanity to cure and to cut, to cradle and protect the species from the apocalyptic horrors their ancestors unleashed. And there's a parasite spreading through the castle. Next up, we have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This is about a girl who loves slashers and horror movies and finds herself living a real-life horror movie. It says, Jade's got an encyclopedic recall of every horror movie. Will that help her survive? Can she get a final girl trained enough to stop all this from happening? Does she even want to? Queen of Teeth by Haley Piper. This one is about a girl who, within 48 hours, she will go from discovering teeth between her thighs to being hunted by one of the most powerful corporations in America. We are skipping Krampus because that is a Christmas book, and I don't want to read that right now. Next is Mary by Nat Cassidy. This is about a middle-aged woman who is experiencing hot flashes and body aches. She can't look in the mirror without passing out, and the voices in her head have been urging her to do unspeakable things. Mary discovers that these experiences are echoes of an infamous serial killer. Then the killings begin again. Next up, we have Reprieve by James Hahn Matson. This one is a literary novel of social horror centered around a brutal killing that takes place in a full-contact haunted escape room. Next up, we have The Narrow by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a gothic horror that takes place at the Atwood School, where there are stories that the river that runs behind the school is haunted, and anyone who steps foot in the river doesn't live to tell the tale until one student is found in the river and has survived. I have The Book of Living Secrets by Madeline Rue. This is about two girls who are obsessed with this one book until they discover that they are able to enter the world of that book and find that the lush fairy tale that they've been obsessed with is actually horrific and full of dark evil. Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. This is a gothic horror book about a cult and two cousins, one who escaped the cult that they were raised in, and then when her cousin reappears in her life after 2 decades, she finds herself being drawn back into the world that she tried so hard to escape. Next up, I have The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. This book is a memoir written by one of the main characters to make sense of things that happened in his past involving his bizarre friendship with this girl, but somehow this friend got her hands on the manuscript and she has some issues with it and is making cuts, to which she takes a red pen to make her feelings known. Next up, we have We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix, which is the last Grady Hendrix book that I need to read. This one is following a heavy metal band where the lead singer embarked on a solo career and rocketed to stardom, leaving his bandmates behind to rot. The lead guitarist learns that they had been sabotaged and their souls had been sold to the devil for fame. All right, only a couple left. We have All's Well by Mona Awad. This is a book about theater and chronic pain. Cain. It is about a theater director who is putting on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, but she faces a mutinous cast hellbent on staging Macbeth instead. Next, I have A Sign Here by Claudia Lux. This is a comedy horror about a guy who works in hell, literally, and is on the cusp of a big promotion if only he can get one more member of the wealthy Harrison family to sell their soul. And then the final book that I have is Hour of the Witch. This is a historical horror book set in the 1600s following a young Puritan woman who plots her escape from a violent marriage. So those are all of the horror books currently on my physical TBR. Make sure you comment the titles of the books that you want me to read the most. So if there's anything on here that you really want me to read, now is your time to make that happen. I am so excited for all of these spooky content that I have planned for this month, and I hope you guys are excited. I hope you're getting into the spooky Halloween mood. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I'm gonna be doing a lot of Patreon content this month for Halloween. I will see you in my next video. Bye!